To every country marked for conquest, they sent their agents. Army officers posing as laborers, shopkeepers, gardeners. Along the coasts, officers of the Imperial Japanese Navy, masquerading as fishermen, piloted tiny boats equipped with diesel engines and radio sending sets. They fished for pearls off the South Pacific Islands. They fished for tuna off the coast of California. They made some good hauls. Other Japanese traveled widely as tourists, photographing the sights of Honolulu and Seattle. Something to show the folks back home. Still others went to work in barber shops, strange barbers who didn't talk. All this information was collected, studied, filed away in Tokyo, ready for use when the day came for the army to go into action. Wherever Japanese spies went, Japanese propaganda followed, especially in Asia. The message was simple.
The white man is exploiting you. Drive him out. Asia for the Asiatics. Japan is your protector.
Meanwhile, to finance the war machine, the second team, the industrialists, started their briefcase offensive. From the factories of Osaka, the mills of Tokyo, the chemical plants of Nagoya, the steel mills of Iwata, the shipyards of Nagasaki, came the economic bullets. But these belching factories in the cities were not the real machinery behind Japan's trade war. For here was the real machinery. The slums of the cities, where 64% of Japan's products were made in small backroom factories employing 5 people or less. There are hundreds of thousands of these factories in the home where father, mother, and children work in semi-slavery. Taking advantage of these low labor costs, the industrialists of Japan knew they could undersell every other nation on earth, and they did. All over the world, they dumped their cheap labor products. And to their dumping, they added piracy. Countless patented articles were manufactured and sold throughout Asia under their American names. The 2 best-known American spark plugs. Genuine old Scotch whiskey was made in the distilleries of Osaka. Matches made in Kobe were labeled made in Sweden. They undersold silk to the silk-producing Italians. They undersold England's cotton goods in the home of her own cotton industry. They undersold beer to the beer-producing Germans. American toothbrushes, retailing at 35 to 50 cents each, were copied in Japan to retail in American chain stores at 10 cents each. They even undersold us with our own American flag. And with the money accumulated in foreign countries with these cheap labor exports, did they in turn buy automobiles, ice boxes, or food? Did they erect better homes for the Jap workers or improve their living conditions? No, indeed. Instead, they imported oil, scrap iron, tin, rubber, aluminum, and secretly built up their powerful war machine. A fanatic nation turning its sweat into weapons for conquest.
The final product, the Japanese soldier. Ready to shoot, smash, and slug Jap superiority into all non-Japanese people.
In groups of 100, the sick, battle-weary, starved American and Filipino prisoners were lined up, beaten, and searched, then herded together for what was to be for them the March of Death. This March of Death is a lasting monument to the insane arrogance and brutality of the Japanese soldier. Burning with malaria, racked with diarrhea and dysentery, the men, barely able to stand, were marched for some 7 days without food or water. Their helmets were purposely knocked off to expose them to the blistering sun. For hours at a time, they were given the torturing sun treatment. At night, they were packed into enclosures so tight, the men lay in their own human defecation. In the daytime, they marched in the sun. Thousands dropped out and were bayoneted and shot. Those that made it to the prison camps were subjected to unspeakable humiliation and torture. 3 years later, when rescued by MacArthur, this is how they looked. In retreating before MacArthur, the enraged Japs wantonly burned most of the city of Manila. Before our men could kill them all, the sons of heaven had bound and slaughtered thousands of helpless Filipino civilians in the inner city.
Co-prosperity, peace, enlightenment.
That's roughly your enemy, Japan. A nation with a tough, seasoned, fanatic army of 4 million still practically intact. A nation that can supply 1 million new conscripts a year willing to die in their foxholes. A nation that believes we will throw in the sponge because they will outfight us, outlast us, outdie us. A nation hell-bent to rule the world or commit national suicide.